Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today, UK. So today we would like to take you on our journey as to how we scaled, not only from a platform and architecture perspective, but also from a business perspective, people, workforce, strategies. So yeah. Who are we? So would you like to introduce who we are?
Okay, well, we are the technology.
Yeah.
Okay, we are the technology hub within the Lottoland Group. Yeah, we've been working with our platform for a long time. It's been quite a journey so far. It's been quite fun and also quite challenging, I would say. But what's more important for us today is that it's been very insightful. And today we want to share this insight with all of you.
Yeah. So in terms of agenda, we'll try to keep it short for you guys. And so we'll be talking about why we want to share our journey with you. Okay. We'll also do a quick reality check as to what our situation was a few years ago. We'll take you on the journey as to what we've done across this period and where we are today, and also discuss what we have planned for the future. Now,
That's it. You have to click the...
Yep. In terms of who we are and what we are today, so we're Sabertech. We're part of the technology. We're the technology hub within Lottoland, okay? Responsible for building the core lotteries and gaming platforms. So in terms of our platform today, we support and have around 17 million players worldwide. We support around 1,400 games, and we have around 50 lotteries in 20 different markets. Why do we want to share experience?
Okay, we're going to talk about scaling today. For us, scaling is about growth. We all as human beings have been experiencing growth. Like we were babies, kids, we became adults. And in each of these stages, we were facing different challenges. We have goals to accomplish. We had to learn a lot to come to the next stage. In software engineering, it's not that different. Okay, we've been through a set of stages to be able to scale up our business, also facing challenges, learning, failing. Okay, but like we think that's the right path, and we think that there is no success, there's no successful business across the time without scaling. Not scaling is not an option. You have to go through that. And today, we are gonna guide you through the journey that we've taken to provide to our business the right capabilities to scale up. And we will do that from a product engineering perspective.
Yep. So before being able to scale, we first needed to do a reality check. You first need to know what your current situation is, where we are, what's working, what's not working. Now, when we started to do our reality check, we encountered quite a few interesting sites. So we had situation where within our product engineering team, we had a situation where everyone was accountable for everything. And when you have everyone accountable for everything, no one's responsible. Okay? We also had a situation where we had no subject matter experts. We had a single monolithic application. Everybody knew about the monolithic application, but we had no real expertise. And in order to embark on the journey of a distributed architecture, you needed that expertise, and you did not have this. We were also scared of failure. So this is another of the challenges that we face. We saw various opportunities, but were many times scared to take them. And we also invested efforts in areas where we were just simply not experts, and we were wasting our time essentially in these areas.
Yeah, and if I can ask, we were lacking leadership mindset. We were working quite in isolation, everyone, and we were not providing the right support or coach to everyone to help us grow together, which is a key thing to scale up. Yeah.
In terms of what our platform looked at the time, so we had a single channel, okay, a web channel where our players access our platform. We had 3 clusters which were maintained, so a cluster for our platform, Kafka and Mongo instances. The problem with this architecture, the issue was there was no redundancy. If one cluster went down, the whole site went down, okay? What did this platform support at this time? So at this, we had around 5 million players at this stage. We were across 5 different markets, okay? We had around 20 product engineering team members, and at this time, we're doing around 4 releases per day. Each release used to hit us around 2-3 hours. So you can imagine solving a P1 incident, it used to take 4 hours, okay? Once we began our journey and to our distributed architecture, we had to focus on a few key areas. So the first area was to increase our workforce and actually begin to upskill our people. Like, this is where we began to actually create the expertise. In order to create the expertise, we also had to begin aligning the business as to what areas of what core business functionality did we have that we needed. And we'll touch upon this in the next slide as to what areas we actually determined were necessary. Once this distribution was created, this then unblocked us to begin to introduce domain-driven design. Okay.
Yeah. So as I explained, if we wanted to split by domains, okay, our workforce, we need to understand our bounded context. Okay, here we decide to use domain-driven design. We somehow map this bounded context to each of the domains to understand the responsibilities. Then each domain will start to dig into the different commands, queries, okay, the topics we need to expose, the APIs, the data model, and this is basically how we shape the different domains. And we had to define an architecture vision, okay, that was based on more independence and automation. We had the vision, and now we had to work on the strategy. We're moving to a cross-domain world with different domains. We have to learn and develop some cross-domain strategies to be able to be effective. And of course, what our guys were more excited about is we started to decouple the monolith, what they call the beast. Right? It's a big one and has to be split in order to be able to scale properly.
Another thing to mention here, Char, is that the trick here was finding that balance between independence between domains and actually where the boundaries set. And finding that balance was absolutely crucial for us at this stage.
Yeah, that's true. It was hard, and also we want to give autonomy to the teams. At the same time, we want to standardize process across, no? And that across all the domains. So that was a little bit of a challenge, where to find the right balance between autonomy and standardization.
Yeah. So one of the things before we got to this stage where we had 7 domains, and what we actually did was pretty interesting. Now, Cherry, I asked you, so in Malaga, what do you do when you go to a queue in Spain?
If I go to a queue in Malaga?
Yeah, in Malaga.
I would look at the queue and ask who is the last one.
No.
Unlikely. You've seen the queue before in the night,
Yes.
right?
So you ask for who is the last one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There is no order. You just ask who's the last one, and the queue just works. So this concept of self-organization, we actually took inspiration from this and looked to apply as to how we actually created our domains. What did we do? We got all of our teams together, well, all of our people together in one room. This is the context. This is where we need to get to. These are the core business functionalities. And 2 tequila bottles later, we had 7 domains. Okay, this is how everyone distributed.
Yeah, it was good to have these self-organized teams, and also now the guys that are most of them here cannot complain to which team they are because they chose themselves.
There's a sense of ownership. In terms of platform at this stage, so once we had actually started on this journey, we began and were enabled the opportunity to increase the amount of channels. So at this stage, we still had our web channel, but we had native apps as well. So we had our mobile apps, our core platform scaled, and we introduced self-contained systems, which we'll discuss later on in this presentation in a bit more detail as to what they are. And one of the things that we began to do here is to actually learn from parts of other states in terms of our reality check. We began to move away from self-hosted Kafka and Mongo instances, and we moved these to managed solution. Why? Because we were not experts, if that's straightforward.
Yeah, we don't want to take care of and put our efforts on scaling a Kafka cluster. You know, that's not our core business. So, for us to be able to focus on what really matters to our customers, okay, and to add value to them, we decided to delegate that stage, as he said, and let someone who knows better how to do it for us. Okay, at this stage, we see already, you see the first SCS, okay, that we will explain now, self-contained system, okay, which it is a non-resilience platform at all, as you can see yet, but at least was the first foundations.
Yeah. Although we still struggle with the resiliency, it did unblock a lot compared to the previous stage.
Yeah, and it is true that if one self-contained system may be down, okay, the business functions may yet work.
Exactly. Now, in terms of this platform, this literally allowed us to increase the amounts of markets that we were able to expose ourselves to. So we went from 5 markets to 10. We went from, I think it was 5 million players to actually supporting 12 million players worldwide. In terms of domains, we had 14 product engineering teams across these 7 domains, and with a total of around 50 team members, so our scale was quite substantial. And in terms of releases, we went from releasing around 4 times per day to around 12 releases, okay? And the new releases through the self-contained systems were taking around 20 minutes, okay? So this is very, very significant for us, which allowed us not only to deliver business value much more quicker, but also to recover when we needed to. Yeah. Now, Cherry, would you like to take over to what self-contained systems are?
Yeah, sure. We'll do a quick overview about what self-contained systems are or how we understand them. Okay. Most of you have worked with microservices, for sure, right? And you have also worked with, we call 3 layers architecture, no? With your user interface, okay, where controllers, servlets, APIs, then business logic, okay, with the service layer, where you have all the logic, and then the persistent layer to access the database. Okay, we have worked with a monolith at some point, or if you have not, okay, you're lucky, but with a big monolith that was hard to split. So at the end, this concept helped us to get the right approach. Imagine that you have this big monolith with a set of controllers, the service layers, and data access object layer, and take a vertical slice out of them. And then you put it, okay, you deploy as an independent, okay, it can be one microservice, can be a set of them, but they will behave as an autonomous web application. That web application will contain all the data that needs to work. That's an important concept. So we will not do synchronous calls from one to another, because in our opinion, if you do so, you will not scale properly. There's a coupling on HTTP calls. We don't want one, because one service is down, the other that needs it may not work. So what we do is what in domain-driven design called data projections. Okay, each self-contained system may be publishing data, okay, to our Kafka clusters, and the other self-contained system that need this data to operate will persist a local copy of them. In that way, it's a fully autonomous web application by itself, and usually what we did at this stage, this initial stage, we assign every self-contained system to one domain. Every domain will own one or several self-contained systems. Here, we're going to talk now in implementation of a self-contained system in our platform. In this example is about the accounting, okay, don't get confused, it's accounting self-contained system, okay, which takes care of all the transactions. It's like a transaction engine for all the domains that you've seen before. Games domain, payments, lotteries, they will produce transactions. So they will all be subscribed to our Kafka cluster, to a topic, and they will be submitting events. And our account service will be processing them and persisting these transactions in our database. You see a set of services, statistics, just CQRS model for the account, and transaction event is the service that takes care of using Mongo chain streams to publish an event also every time a transaction is performed. In that way, different self-contained systems, like an example from our marketing colleagues, the offer bonus system, will be subscribed to that topic and will understand what is the usage from every player of the bonuses. That's a good example. Today, we don't make any synchronous call. Offer bonus system is down, okay, the transaction engine will yet work, okay? And we respect the 3 layers, okay, having a reverse proxy layer on the top, okay, to access to our REST APIs. And this is the only exception we do, okay? The only REST API that our self-contained systems are exposing are for our frontend to render our web components. And eventually, because we have this data synchronization, we have reconciliation APIs. One system may go down while the other is up and maybe submitting events. So you need to reconcile the data to have the local copy of the data up to date.
So where are we today?
Okay, today we are trying to move our platform to the next maturity stage. Okay, to a platform that is really resilient and scalable. So, like in the other stage, we started to think on what are our main focus, where we have to look at. Okay, suddenly there were new functions. Okay, as I said, there were new cross-domain strategies, there were new processes. Someone has to take care of them. Okay, we have a servant leadership culture based on trust, which help everyone to be able to jump in and perform a function that is a little bit out of the role. But that helped later for the growth, and some people were able to jump into a new role, because the growth of the people is key to be able to grow the company. We think that they need to go hand by hand.
Yeah. So at this stage, also taking this new functions, we began to create new roles. So Cherry and myself, for example, got to a situation when we had 40 direct line reports because of that structure that we had, and adopting that servant leadership. we began to actually create new functions, new roles to allow people to grow internally and be able to support and actually introduce this in order to be able to scale further. We also began to introduce trusted partners and trusted platforms as well. So from a trusted partners perspective, it's two angles. One, from architectural service provider that we mentioned previously, but also in terms of other partners who could help us spin development teams much more quicker than we were able to. Okay? And this also began to enable us to begin our cloud adoption.
Yes, we bring a lot of talent also. These partners were helping us, okay, to face new technology, because as we said before, we have to skill people, and getting that partners helping us is a great opportunity for us and for them. And within the cloud, we were before in the cloud, but now we were using native cloud features, as well as continue with our managed solutions. Okay, we want not to worry about the infrastructure, okay, and about scaling things, and our cloud gave us that capabilities, so we could focus on what we really do, our features for our customers. That cloud adoption was also thanks to the DevOps culture that we introduced. Okay, some DevOps came to our engineering department, and they were helping us to be more autonomous. Now engineers are able to manage their own infrastructure with their support, and that's very important because we want to run fast and we want to be independent. Dependencies are always slowing down in our engineering world. Also, they created we decided a set of metrics within our engineering department, and our DevOps helped us to visualize them. We were working on DORA metrics. Don't know if you've heard them. Change failure rate, deployment frequency, MTTR, lead time. We decided to focus on those ones. And our DevOps were able to make them visualize to different dashboards at team level. That was amazing, because that created awareness for all the teams on how you are performing, how good you are doing when you are delivering an initiative. And that helped us also to be able to do data-driven decisions, okay, along the way. Again, at team level structure, how someone's performing, how the team, but also how the features that we are delivering. And with that data, our agile teams had the right tools to increase the maturity, because without data, you cannot measure the success. And now they have this in hand, and some of them started to explore different agile methodologies that could be evaluated through that set of metrics, if that was successful or not. Yeah.
Here I'd like to make reference again in terms of the cost of independence. And the cost of independence here was quite great, because various domains, we got to a situation where various domains were implementing their own CI/CD pipelines, for example, and we didn't have a situation where we could share that knowledge directly. And this is where it becomes crucial again to find that funding, and it's allowing that space for people to innovate and actually take on the lead there, but you be able to support them in what they do. Okay, this is what our platform looks like today.
That's it, yeah. Let's go through it. It looks better, right, than the previous one. We have the same channels, okay, our web and our native channels, but now the big difference is that you see two completely independent infrastructures. One is deployed in an island region, and the other is in Australia. We see more SCSs now, and some of them are fully functional now. Before, we were using an evolutionary architecture approach, of course, because we need to move towards our target architecture, but at the same time we need to deliver BAU item. So some of them were on the starting stage, but now some of them are fully finished. And that brought to us the level of resilience that we wanted to achieve. Because on the top of this self-contained system, you see the Mongo clusters at the bottom. And now every domain was owning the Mongo cluster, and the databases for your SCSs are sitting in your cluster, and it's not a shared one. And I want to tell an example. Okay, imagine that one of the engineers from the games domain, for example, comes and makes a mistake on one of the query and forget to create an index. It happened, right? The whole cluster from the games domain went down. But that didn't mean that the website was not working. It was. Now, our players may not be able to play games, but they will be able to come to our site. They will be able to deposit, to register, to buy a lottery ticket, and to make a bet on the sports bet. So this is now a resilience platform. not yet to the fully level, but it's something that will allow us to scale our business up.
Another challenge here, and it's actually one of the learnings that we've very recently taken, is that what you can see in these two different platforms is we still have a single point of failure here, okay, and that's our Avon cluster. So very recently we actually had a situation where our Avon cluster, it's still the center message bus across the platforms. What we're looking to do now is take the same concept as to what we did with our different database clusters across different self-contained systems, is that every domain has the same concept. And this way, the internal communications within every domain is completely independent. Okay, so if one cluster completely goes down, or one domain goes down, the others are not impacted.
Yeah, one more. The level of isolation that we managed to get by having a self-contained system connected to its own cluster and its own event clusters, then it opens opportunities for us as a Lotoland group to be able to use one of the SCSs out of the Lotoland platform, but to be connected to different systems. Okay, for example, our payments domain are developing an amazing SCS, and we could reuse that one for other platform website of within the Lotoland group, like to plug and play and start using it. That's again a key factor to be able to scale that component reusability with in an effortless way to connect.
Yeah. And another thing is, Avon doesn't need to be your solution of choice. Being internally within every domain, you can begin to adopt different things, which is like a cloud native solution. What does this platform support today? So right now we exist in over 20 different countries. We have around 17 million players. We have around, I think it's like 15 in European region and around 2 in Australia. Okay, we went, as I mentioned previously, from 4 releases today to around 38 releases. Okay, 38 business functionalities released on a daily basis, independently. Now that's one of the key achievements that this platform has actually managed to achieve. Yeah.
So some of them in a Friday.
Some of your team definitely. Your team, for sure. What else? We actually scale from around 50 different engineers, product engineers within our workforce to over 100 right now. Still maintain the 7 core domains, but we've grown exponentially over the years, and it's been quite a journey, right?
Yeah, easy.
So what's the future for us?
And the journey is yet in progress. It will not end. As I said before, technology will keep moving on, and the competition will be very hard always. So there is no choice.
Not right.
Where are we going next? You saw the latest diagram about the architecture. Now we want to extend that to be a full geolocalization. Okay. First, we think we are ready now because we got the learnings from the previous stages. We did, for example, complex data migration strategy, where we have to migrate over 1 million players, Australian players, to this cluster that you see. And these players were playing also in the website at the same time we were transferring. Imagine we have terabytes of transactions. So we have got that experience. We think now to move to a full geolocalization strategy that will contain not just the 2 regions you saw, but all around the world, which will also bring latency improvements, and we will be able, coming to the next point, to be more cost effective, because right now if we want to scale for one concrete country, we need to scale the whole island cluster. But if we have different clusters around the world and we have a South America promotion, we can scale only the services on that region and not on the all of them. And yeah, basically that's it, and takes me to the next point, which is the domain elasticity. As a business, when you want to scale, so that you want to go faster, well, they always want to go faster, right? And we have the people that we have. So now we think that with the level of independence and at the level of distributed architecture that we have, we can easily bring partners to start working on our platform. Because if you would bring a partner at the beginning, you would bring, for example, 10 engineers to support us during the first stage, it would be like hell to learn about the monolith and to wait for releasing when we have 7 teams trying to release. There's a big queue. But if you take your outsourcing guys and you put them to work on an isolated part of the platform, it will be much faster, much easier. And we want them to grow faster because this is about money also, and about being able to deliver value with an acceptable time to market. So right now our domains can be more elastic, and the ones that are more distributed have bigger chances to bring people to support them. Yeah.
Now there's two ways to do this actually. So there is we've now managed to unblock the area where we can completely delegate a project, because we've completely decoupled from the monolithic application, that it literally allows us to, as Javi said, outsource and bring in that elasticity into these teams. We have the expertise now to be able to do this, and we completely are able to unblock this street. The other form of elasticity is to actually extend the teams directly by bringing in people with expertise. Let's say you're picking up, or one of the projects you're doing is to begin to move to AWS, for example, but your team do not have expertise. Is bring in that knowledge, learn from working side by side, elbow to elbow with these people. Now this is the type of elasticity that we've been looking at, and it's worked pretty well for us. The next challenge, where we have right now, we have the expertise, we have the poor business functionalities, is actually to begin to introduce the domain rotation, and that rotation culture where you don't stick into one domain, you can actually move into other domains and become more knowledgeable in the business. And this is one of the things that we would like to look at introducing over the coming period of time.
Yeah, true, because also we've been building functional documentation now. We have evolved on our strategy, we have API contracts, okay, so we have an ecosystem that would be easier for different guys to come in and be quickly up to speed.
It is literally taking the learnings from one domain and applying it to the other, and just like where Lucas shared experiences today, it's taking that learning and sharing.
Yeah. For any reason, people are not very happy for that yet, but we'll get there.
Now, unfortunately for those of you who are Sabre Tech here, we will still be looking to build a monolith. We're not there yet. It'll still be around for quite a few years. And one of the things that we'll look to adopt, and this is pretty new space for us, is how we can begin to introduce artificial intelligence into the work we do. Now, we know some of you are more in tune and in depth in this area, so this is one opportunity for where we can learn from the community here in Manada.
Yeah, we have quite a few challenges ahead.
Yeah. Takeaways from this presentation, guys. So one, don't be afraid to take risks. This is where you learn the most, okay? When everything's going fine, when everything's working okay, you're not evolved and you're not learning, okay? Failures is where you learn the most, okay? Invest in your people, be inclusive, and actually make them part of this transformation. The whole journey that we've gone through has not been easy, but it's been made much more easier because we've involved our people. They've been part of that transition. We've listened to them, we've adopted their feedback, and actually this helped us to scale. We were not always right, okay? And this is part of that servant leadership culture that we wanted to use. Choose your battles wisely. Why? Do not invest efforts into areas where you're not expert. Okay, that's one of the things that we learned very clearly, and as you discussed, we look to change. And always focus on the core business values and how to unblock that business value rapidly. Okay.
And adopt tequila-driven developments, right? And six to finish, right? Ancizar, be careful with Cesar. He's a great master, but you may end not very well on that.
Cool. So everyone, that's our presentation for today. We hope it's been insightful. Any questions, feel free to.
Yeah, and of course, we'll be very happy to hear from you. Just to finish, we know most of you have been through any of the stages, or you may be like a more future stage, so we'll be very happy. We'll be around if you want to tell us how it was for you, that journey. Thank you.